It's time for Wine and Dine. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Lindsay, aka SwishWilly, and I talk about all things Disney. So if you're into that sort of thing, please make sure you hit subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Today we are finally talking about the runDisney Wine and Dine Half Marathon Weekend for 2023. runDisney's been cutting it really close to registration time for when they decide to drop all the information about the races, so here's all the information that you need. So they finally dropped the full theming of the weekend, as they did put a little bit of a teaser out where they said that the half marathon theming was Encanto, more specifically Mirabel, but now we have the theming for all of the races, and finally they have decided to bring in the much beloved character of Epcot, Figment. I don't know why he hasn't been involved in this race weekend from the get-go, seeing as it is a predominantly Epcot-based race weekend, but it has finally happened. So let's just get into the distances, the costs, and everything else you need to know. It looks as though the races have gone up in price by about $5 or $6 each race. So like in the grand scheme of runDisney pricing, $5 to $6 really isn't that big of a deal considering they're already expensive to begin with. However, it does make an impact for a lot of people. Let's start with the 5K. The 5K is Alice in Wonderland themed. It does feature 3 Alice characters. So you have Alice, the White Rabbit, and the Mad Hatter. And your 5K is going to be running at $107.99 if you are running it in person. If you choose to run it virtually, you're looking at $85. For your 10K, while it is Beauty and the Beast themed, it's actually Beauty and the Beast's sidekick themed, because if you look at the main banner, it is just Cogsworth, but when you click into the race specifically, you get Cogsworth, Lumiere, and Mrs. Potts. The in-person 10K is running at $150.99, and to run it virtually, it's $106. For the half marathon, as I mentioned, they did tease that it is Encanto themed, more specifically Mirabel, but when you click into that race, it actually has your 3 characters. The 3 characters from the film are the 3 sisters of the Madrigal family. Obviously, your half marathon is going to be significantly more than all the other races as per true runDisney fashion, and this one is sitting at $234.99, and your virtual is $126. If the half marathon wasn't expensive enough for you, we're gonna go over to the challenge, which everyone knows that's where the big bucks are. The 2-course challenge this year, as I teased earlier, is finally bringing in one of my favorite park icons. No, it's not Spaceship Earth, folks. We are talking about Figment. Finally, I have been waiting for this moment forever. I think Figment should always be the challenge medal for Wine and Dine, but what do I know? I'm just here to provide you with the information, guys. Your 2-course challenge includes your 10K and your half marathon, and it's gonna cost you a whopping $389, folks. If you wanna run it virtually, you're still looking at a whopping $270 to run it on your own. There is another event that does happen over this weekend, and it is the post-race party. Now, your post-race party is essentially just them keeping the park open later for runners or anybody who is holding a ticket to this event, and you can get into the park starting at 5 p.m. You do get a wristband. They do check your ticket. It's kind of similar to how they run a Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party or the Christmas party, whereas when you come in, you show your ticket and they give you a wristband so people know that you are supposed to be there after hours. Now, your half marathon and your challenge do include the post-race party. If you wanted to do the post-race party without doing the half marathon, you will have to pay $105 to get into the park. It is a limited capacity event, so it's basically just another hard ticket after hours. They do have like runDisney specialty drinks, sometimes a bit of a snack, but they're not included. So remember, it's essentially just a park ticket with limited attendance. Everything else remains the same. The biggest question of all, when do you sign up for the Wine and Dine 2023 Half Marathon Weekend? Great question. There are actually 3 different registration days to take note of. If you are a Club runDisney member, you can register on Tuesday, March 14th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are not a Club runDisney member, which most of us are not, if you are doing your general registration, it's going to be on March 21st at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Your virtual registration opens up on March 24th at 10 Eastern Standard Time. Now let's get into your race policies. We're going to start this time with your age requirements because that is actually very important if you're ready to register your friends or family into the races with you. For the 5K, you have to be 5 years of age or older. For your 10K, you have to be at least 10 years of age or older. And for your half marathon or your challenge, because it includes a half marathon, you have to be 14 years of age or older. The runDisney website does say that the virtual events should be treated as in-person events when it comes to ages. So if you're registering for virtual, keep in mind that Disney does recommend those age groups. These next little bits I can't stress enough because these races are not cheap. These races are non-refundable. When I say non-refundable, I mean like non-refundable. No ifs, ands, or buts. If your flight's canceled, if your flight's delayed, if you broke your arm, broke your leg, broke your hip, anything like that, Disney will not refund you. This is something that they do account for on their website. You sign off on this when you register. So please bear in mind that if you are doing these races, you account for your travel time. I recommend that if you are out of state or out of country, you get your flights to arrive at least 2 days before the expo begins because it's a lot of unnecessary stress. Trust me, we cannot predict weather, ever. Now the races do continue, rain or shine. However, they may be canceled due to extreme weather conditions such as extremely high heat, extremely low temperatures, or lightning that's within 10 miles of the race course. If this happens, Disney does not need to refund you. Oftentimes, in the past, they have let you defer your race to the next race weekend or whichever race weekend you want within that race calendar year, but that's not ever guaranteed. These policies can change, so bear in mind that you may potentially lose the money if the race is canceled by any means. So just a heads up, it's very rare they won't do anything for you, but they do not have to. All your entry fees do include a service fee. Now the service fee does not tack on to any donations that you decide to do along with your registration. You'll see that when you register if you want to donate to a charity that they are sponsoring or featuring through that race weekend. So you will see that. So you don't have the processing fee over top of that. Now I'm not sure if this is going to be available during registration this year, but in the past, they have offered pre-sales of items that you can purchase at the expo. If you do the pre-sale, these items are non-refundable. All commemorative items, whether it's an annual pass package or just a pin package, anything like that, commemorative items are non-refundable. So again, be mindful that a lot of those times, those items are blind buys and you cannot cancel that order once it's done. Now, if you choose to do these pre-sales, remember that you have to pick these items up by the end of the expo. They will not mail anything to you if you forget to pick it up at the expo. So be very mindful that that is also outlined on their website and you agree to it. For your race bibs are non-refundable and non-transferable. This is a very, very big thing. Disney is very strict on the resale of their bibs. There have been instances where people have been caught trying to either transfer or sell the bibs to somebody else. And when that happens, Disney has every right to ensure that all parties involved in this sale or transfer are not allowed to do any runDisney races in the future. Now also be mindful that they may not catch it at the beginning, but if they do catch it, even when you conclude the race, because they couldn't disqualify you for that race, you can get in pretty big trouble by the conclusion and they can essentially ban you from racing. That's where I'm a big advocate for, if you do these races, please make sure you commit for 2 reasons. 1, you don't want to have to end up worrying about losing money, but 2, if you are ever kind of iffy on whether or not you'll actually be able to do it, let someone who really wants to come in and do it, do it. These races sell out very, very fast, and if you can't commit, please be conscientious to people who really want to commit and can commit and let them have the opportunity to get that bib. That's my PSA for today. So let's talk about your pacing requirements for the race. In order to complete your races, Disney says that you have to maintain a 16-minute per mile pace. This usually starts at the back of the corrals. So if you are in one of the first corrals to go, the 16-minute kind of gets extended a little bit because you started first. So the 16-minute mile is very much for the back corral running at the slowest pace of 16 minutes per mile. You'll see the balloon ladies in the back, lovely people. Don't be afraid of them. Just remember you have to keep up with them in order to complete the race successfully. If you fall behind the balloon ladies, there is a chance that you may get swept and taken to the finish line via bus or shuttle. In order to keep that 16-minute pace per mile, runDisney recommends training for a 15-minute per mile pace to allow you to have time for character stops and still give you a little bit of wiggle room and comfort cushion for the remainder of the race. Now, everyone's worry, your proof of time is only required for this weekend if you say that you are going to be running the half marathon in less than 2 hours and 15 minutes. If you are pretty sure you are going to finish in under 2 hours and 15 minutes, you need to have a previous race to prove that time. These races that qualify for your proof of time can be any time between January 1st, 2021 through to August 1st, 2023. These are what your proof of times need. It needs to be a USATF certified race. Most races that have a chip are. The race distance requirements for your proof of time are either a 10K, 10 miler, half marathon, or full marathon. You'll also need to submit the name of the race, the distance that you ran, how long it took you in hours, minutes, and seconds, the city and state or province, depending on where you're running, as well as a link to the results website to prove your time. If you run a race between the time of registration and August 1st, I highly recommend that you do this as soon as possible. Now, I say this because they only have X amount of room per corral. For example, let's say your race happened in end of July, right at the cutoff time, and you ran a race time that should be good enough to get you within that second corral. That second corral may already be filled up by people who previously submitted their proof of time. So even though you should be in that corral, there's a chance that you might be pushed to the next available corral. That doesn't mean that you'll be pushed to the third corral, because if that third corral is filled up by runners who also provided a proof of time for that time period, you'll get shifted to the next one, and so on and so forth. So the earlier you submit this proof of time, the better your chances are at getting the corral placement that you intended to get. The runDisney Wine and Dine 2023 Expo is going to take place on November 2nd through to November 5th. So it does start the day before the first race, but concludes the day before the last race. If you are running the 5K, you have to go to the expo on the very first day on the Wednesday, because you have to pick up your bibs at least one day prior to your race day. There is no morning of pickup. If you're running the 10K or the challenge, you must pick up your bib no later than the second day of the expo, which is the day of the 5K, November 3rd. Your races are going to be on the 4th and the 5th, or just the 4th, so you want to make sure that you get it ahead of time. I cannot stress to you enough how important it is to get your bib on time, because there's a very slim chance that you'll get emergency pickup day of the race. This is why I stress trying to travel at least 2 days prior to the expo, because you never know what's gonna happen. You wanna have a little bit of cushion time to get your runDisney bib. You don't know how many times I see people missing picking up their bib because they decide that it's a good idea to either show up on the day of the expo or the day before their race. I understand that it's not possible for some people to come earlier, but like, try your best to allot for that time. It's very important, and the last thing you wanna do is waste all this money and have your flight cancel and you can't get to the expo to get your bib. It's just not worth the risk. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you got all the information that you needed. And if I left anything out, or if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to comment down below, and I will try and answer every question that you guys might have regarding this race weekend. If you haven't already, please make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos moving forward, including when the race maps come out. I will give a breakdown of what you are looking at for your course maps. Have an awesome day!